Amid Taiwan war fears, does Xi Jinping now see an opportunity to move against Trump's prized possessions, reshaping global power while tensions rise across the Taiwan Strait? First, Greenland, now another Chinese threat. Has Beijing quietly targeted a second strategic territory that could trap America in an escalating geopolitical game? Xi now ready to take over key shipping nation in the US backyard? Is China preparing to expand control over critical maritime hub close to the Americas, threatening US logistical dominance? Xi fear forces Panama to betray Trump, forge stronger ties with Beijing. Could rising pressure from Xi push Panama into closer economic and political alignment with China at America's expense? Panama emphasizes sovereignty as US-China fight a proxy war. As Washington and Beijing duel for influence, will Panama insist on sovereign choices while navigating intense pressure from both superpowers?
We are, in a way, being carried along like a tide by the outcome of a problem between two major powers, the United States and China.
China's position on port-related issues in Panama is clear. It will firmly safeguard China's legitimate rights and interests. China also advises relevant countries not to be misled or exploited by forces with ulterior motives.
Panama rejected claims of US pressure as it sought to ease tensions with China, insisting the diplomatic shift reflects sovereign policy choices rather than coercion from Washington and signaling a desire to normalize relations with Beijing on mutually acceptable terms. Details of the China-Panama relationship were reported by the South China Morning Post on May 29, which laid out recent diplomatic moves, economic overtures, and the strategic context behind Panama's decision to pursue closer ties with China. Panamanian President José Raúl Mulino expressed hopes of easing tensions with Beijing, saying his administration aims to restore constructive engagement, expand trade opportunities, and reduce bilateral friction through careful diplomacy. China-Panama relations saw their most serious strain since 2017, driven largely by disputes over Panamanian ports and disagreements that exposed competing economic and regulatory priorities between the two capitals. Apart from bilateral ties, the two nations have sought to renew a key maritime agreement, negotiating terms intended to facilitate shipping, port access, and operational cooperation that are vital to Panama's role as a global transit hub. The 2018 Maritime Agreement grants Panama Most Favored Nation status in Chinese ports, a designation that promises preferential treatment and stronger commercial privileges for Panamanian-flagged vessels calling at Chinese harbors. Preferential tariffs and streamlined procedures will be used for Panamanian-flagged vessels, measures designed to lower costs, speed cargo movement, and make Panama an even more attractive partner in international shipping networks. China's Wang Yi and Panama's Foreign Minister Javier Martinez-Archer met in New York on May 27, holding talks that officials say covered diplomatic, economic, and maritime issues as both sides explored ways to stabilize and deepen bilateral ties. Panama's president described the meeting between the foreign ministers as a transcendental step, framing the encounter as a pivotal moment that could reset relations with Beijing and open the door to broader cooperation on trade, ports, and regional diplomacy. Panama's president said, and I quote, "There is no reason for Panama and its relationship with China to become the axis or pivot of problems between two immense countries such as the United States and China." During the meeting, Wang warned that no third party should interfere with China-Panama relations, stressing Beijing's expectation that bilateral ties proceed without outside pressure or meddling that could complicate their growing cooperation. Wang added that Beijing was willing to deepen cooperation with Panama and to eliminate external interference, offering expanded economic and diplomatic engagement while urging respect for Panama's sovereign choices free from third country influence. In January, Panama's Supreme Court annulled concessions for ports held by Panama Ports Company, a ruling that abruptly upended existing contracts and prompted immediate legal and commercial repercussions for the country's maritime sector. Panama Ports Company is a subsidiary of the Hong Kong conglomerate CK Hutchison, linking the disputed concessions to a major international port operator with extensive global holdings and strategic interest in Panama's transit infrastructure. The Supreme Court decision came amid pressure from the US, where President Trump has publicly questioned China's influence, creating a charged backdrop of geopolitical concern that observers say helped sharpen scrutiny of the port arrangements. Trump even threatened to restore direct American control over the waterway, comments that heightened alarm in Panama and underscored how fraught the canal's geopolitics have become amid great power rivalry. Amid US threats, Panama said it respected the sovereignty of all nations and expected the same in return, stressing that its actions were driven by national law and interests rather than external coercion. Following the Supreme Court ruling, temporary operation of the ports was transferred to European groups, a stopgap measure intended to guarantee continuity of services while longer-term solutions and ownership disputes are resolved. China then intensified inspections of Panama-flagged ships at Chinese ports, a response that Beijing framed as routine enforcement but which critics viewed as a lever to signal displeasure and exert pressure in the dispute. Panama rejected suggestions that the US shaped the government's handling of the Canal port disputes, insisting the legal and administrative steps taken were independent and based on domestic judicial findings. Panama's president claimed that the decision regarding the ports was Panamanian, reiterating national ownership over the process and emphasizing that sovereign institutions had acted according to law and public interest. Panama operates one of the world's largest shipping registries, with more than 8,000 vessels flying its flag, a status that gives the country outsized importance in global maritime logistics and makes port governance a matter of international consequence.
The relationship with China is not a problem between Panama and China. We don't have one. We are, in a way, being carried along like a tide by the outcome of a problem between two major powers, the United States and China. This coincides with the issue of the port, which was also not a government decision. The government acted because a contract ended, and we cannot continue to maintain an activity of such importance and risk in the maritime sphere without a contract. As far as I'm concerned, I have no interest in escalating this problem with China. That is what the two arbitration processes are for. And both they and the Republic of Panama will present everything that needs to be presented in law to be put before the arbitrators. I do not want this to escalate because of a geopolitical conflict, with our Panamanian flagships now being used to try to apply pressure. I think that is not fair.
It is the United States that has politicized the port issue. It is also the United States that is engaging in hypocritical posturing while spreading rumors and smears. The relevant Chinese authorities are conducting routine inspections of vessels in accordance with laws and regulations. China's position on port-related issues in Panama is clear. It will firmly safeguard China's legitimate rights and interests. China also advises relevant countries not to be misled or exploited by forces with ulterior motives.
Donald Trump's envoy arrived in Greenland, signaling renewed American interest in expanding its military presence across the Arctic region. Special Envoy Jeff Landry arrived in Nuuk on May 17 for his first official visit since being appointed in December 2025. Landry's visit drew controversy after reports indicated he arrived without receiving a formal invitation from Greenlandic or Danish authorities. During the visit, Landry stated that Greenland needs U.S. support, as Washington seeks a stronger strategic role in the Arctic region. Jeff Landry said, and I quote, "I think that you're seeing the president talk about increasing national security operations and repopulating certain bases in Greenland." Unquote. At the height of the Cold War, the United States operated as many as 17 military facilities across Greenland. Washington currently maintains only one active installation, the Patuxent Space Base in northern Greenland. Reports suggest the United States is now considering opening 3 additional military facilities in southern Greenland. A 1951 agreement allows the U.S. to expand military infrastructure in Greenland after notifying both Denmark and Greenlandic authorities. Trump had earlier stepped back from direct threats to take control of Greenland following tensions with NATO allies over the issue. U.S., Danish, and Greenlandic officials later established a working group to address security concerns raised by Washington regarding the island. Greenland Prime Minister Jens Frederik Nielsen met Landry during the visit and described their discussions as constructive. However, Nielsen also stated there was no indication that Washington's broader position on Greenland had significantly changed. Landry used the trip to publicly encourage Greenlandic ambitions for eventual independence from Denmark. Jeff Landry said, and I quote, "I think there are some incredible opportunities that can actually lift Greenlanders from dependency to independence. I think that the President of the United States would like to see the country become economically independent. And I think it's possible here." Unquote. Greenland's economy remains heavily dependent on financial assistance and subsidies provided by Denmark. Landry also met Greenland Foreign Minister Mute Egeid during his stay in Nuuk. Further controversy emerged after Landry arrived with a doctor tasked with assessing Greenland's healthcare and medical needs. Denmark and Greenland had previously rejected Trump's proposal to send a U.S. hospital ship to the island territory. Greenland Health Minister criticized the move, saying Greenlanders should not become guinea pigs in a geopolitical project. Trump has repeatedly argued that the United States must secure greater control over Greenland because of national security concerns. He has also warned that Greenland could increasingly fall under Chinese or Russian influence if the United States does not strengthen its presence. Greenland occupies a strategically important position along some of the shortest missile routes between Russia and North America. The island is also believed to hold significant untapped reserves of rare earth minerals considered critical for advanced technologies. Melting polar ice is gradually opening new Arctic shipping routes, increasing Greenland's strategic and economic importance.